Hello YouTube, the following video you're about to see will not be uploaded to my main channel. Share it here while you can. Do me a favor, go within the description box below, grab all the links to my alternative channels so you can still find this video once they take it down. Enjoy! Testing. This video content is created for informational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your Rockefeller Medical Board-trained physician or other qualified health provider for any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
And we are following some breaking news tonight on the CBS 13 News at 5. An individual has died hours after receiving a coronavirus vaccine. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Marley Ginter.
Resident expired. Here's another one. Resident found unresponsive and without pulse at 5:45 a.m. Here's another one. Patient passed away. A friend called to let us know.
An Auburn woman tonight says she witnessed tragedy firsthand. In a post on Facebook, she says she saw her grandfather's aide, a 60-year-old man, get the COVID vaccine at a senior living facility Thursday. She writes, 20 minutes later, he realized his legs felt tingly and he was having shortness of breath. He was wheeled out in an ambulance. 1 hour later, he was in ICU on a ventilator. And 3 hours later, he passed away.
Over 14 of them has passed away. I just left work. There were at least 5 or 6 that I looked at and I said, Lord, they're not going to make it either. Taking their last breaths. I'm talking about people that were walking, people that were active, people that knew right from wrong. These were healthy residents, friends. And then suddenly taking this vaccine 2 weeks later, dead.
Well, hello, beautiful family. It is me, Miss Dana Ashlie. How are you guys doing? It has been really way too long. Totally got a lot of reasons why, but we'll save that for another video. In the meantime, I would like to jump into something that I think is extremely important and is something that your mainstream media will never, ever tell you. Let's jump into it. What this is pertaining to is on the subject of, you guessed it, CV, and then you add 19, and you know what I'm talking about. We're not allowed to have any opinion that is not of the WHO, and so that's why you have to do a little word hiding, so to speak. So I'm going to go over with you a couple of the substitutes I'm going to use. Some of the words you'll hear me using will be words like jab to refer to this. Look at your screen now. And when it comes to the company who makes these things, instead of this company, I'll say Miser. And instead of this company, I'll say modern nah. So at least you'll have an idea of what it is and you won't have to look at the screen. I know some people like to multitask while they're watching the videos. When it comes to this organization right here, I'll say something like CDDC. Instead of, oh, what's his face? This guy, we'll say Malchi. How about that? The rest of them you should probably be able to figure out. I'm not able to say DEATH or DEAD, so I may say passed away or something like that. Let's jump into it because this is really, really important. First of all, some of you may be asking, why should we question this jab? I mean, our government is always looking out to help us, right? Well, for one thing, even they admit in this article you see here, this is from history of, jabs.org. You can see that they admit themselves, jab development is a long, complex process, often lasting 10 to 15 years. So we know that this got through in a matter of months rather than 10 to 15 years like this article states. When it comes to whether or not this will be mandatory, Mr. Malchi said recently that everything will be on the table. Local institutions like your kid's school, like the ability to fly, for example, they can go ahead and restrict people if you don't have it. With schools like LAUSD recently announcing that, yes, LAUSD students must get the CV jab once it becomes available for them. And that is in order to return to school in person. Right. So let's take a look at what we are hearing that the mainstream media is not telling you about what this can cause. I think it really makes a lot of sense to go ahead and look at the history of the companies that have been tapped to create these things. First of all, let's take a look at Miser. And just with a simple Google search, you can see, let me just read this here. Miser has been a, quote, habitual offender, persistently engaging in illegal and corrupt marketing practices, bribing physicians, and suppressing, what is this? Adverse trial results. So they've already been convicted. Now, this is to the extent that they have faced the largest penalties in the history of any pharma company. Okay, so if this were a human being rather than a corporation, they would have been put in jail. And yes, this is the company that we are tapping to create the thing that they are considering making us have before we can do things like travel. Even they admit in this announcement on NBC, we don't know anything about groups that they didn't study, like children, pregnant women, highly immunocompromised people, and the eldest of the elderly. Now, isn't it interesting that in their initial studies of people that they signed up to be the takers of this experimental jab, they didn't actually give it to the eldest of the elderly. But who are we seeing getting it now? Well, you're about to find out as we look a little bit deeper into the adverse events that are being reported. Just generally speaking, the allopathic field as a norm throughout the history of its, 100-year reign here in the United States. The third leading cause of death that doctors don't want you to know is from medical errors. That's not insignificant. So when you combine that with the history of a company like Miser, and then the other company that has been tapped to do this, MODERNA, here's a Wall Street Journal article going into a little bit about its history, and it admits right on the headline, the CV jab frontrunner with no track record. Yes, that's right. The company has never made a product to put on the market ever. Right. They have no approved and on-market products at all. So we have that one and we have the criminal one. Interesting. Is that really the best we can do? And then you see here on the website for BrandNewTube, they call the MR, you guys know this is a RNA jab, right? With an M on the front. Can't say that together either. Basically, they are admitting on their own website that this is what they call an operating system. If you've ever had an operating system fail you, that might give a little cause to ask a little more questions, shouldn't it? Right. Let's move on to the type of things that the media is usually asking. They're not asking tough questions like I'm going to be asking today. They would say something like this headline here: how can they meet the demand for this ACCINE? Obviously manipulating people with the tried and true scarcity tactic that you can see in your own 2-year-old when you have a play date with a friend. They've got toys that have been sitting around forever. A new kid wobbles over to them and picks it up, and the kid goes, "Mine!" Right? So it is innately within the human nature of people, for whatever reason, scarcity mentality. It's in us. It's deep in us, and they are manipulating people by saying, "Are there enough? Oh, are they going to be too expensive? Who's going to get it first?" So this is the kind of coverage you're getting from your standard bought and paid for media. And just to go back into the violation that Miser committed, do note, they did have to do with safety-related offenses. They had to do with false claims. There have been a few, not many, but a few news outlets that have managed to report on some things such as this one. Who is Gregory Michael? A doctor passes away after the jab. Wife says, quote, "It destroyed a beautiful life." Perfectly healthy obstetrician succumbs to passing away after this. And I don't know if you guys saw this one. Hank Aaron, very famous baseball icon. They made a big to-do of him taking this in order to try to encourage other people of color, right, to take it. He even was quoted as saying, "I don't have any qualms about it all, I feel quite proud of myself for doing something like this. It's just a small thing that can help zillions of people in this country." That is what Hank Aaron was quoted as saying about 18 days before he passed away. Is it related? I'm not going to tell you that. You can decide for yourself, but you won't see any news people coming out and making that connection. You may have happened to see the viral video of the Tennessee nurse who, just after receiving a CV jab on live television, became unable to talk and collapse while the cameras kept rolling.
And I know that it's really, I'm sorry, I'm feeling really dizzy. I'm sorry.
The media quickly played it off as being unsurprising, but the CDC site itself, I found, admits they don't know whether or not an ingredient within the jab could cause fainting. Now, this is a healthy young woman working in the CV unit of a hospital having this kind of reaction. What is happening to those who are immunocompromised, older, or more fragile? Let's try to stick with no opinion here, no conjecture. I want to get into what does the FDA say about this? Well, believe it or not, the FDA, and I will have a link to this in the description, this is called a CBER, plans for monitoring CV jab safety and effectiveness. They have plans for it. Well, what do those plans say? It's important to know these things to know what even they are admitting that they're looking for as potential adverse reactions. I'm going to scroll through here and get right into the list. Here you see the page that goes into this. This is a draft. This is a working list of possible adverse event outcomes. This is subject to change. Why? Well, because this was experimental and they are, of course, supposed to be keeping an eye on it. You can just look through here. I would totally botch these if I tried to pronounce them all. Julian Barr, if you've seen some people, young women, for example, who have taken a particular jab that have regressed into this right away. Encephalitis, which is basically inflammation of the brain. Myelitis, I think that has to do with inflammation of nerve tissue. I see here convulsions and seizures. Keep that in mind. The FDA is admitting that convulsion and seizures could be related to this, a stroke. And when you are seeing someone with paralyzed half part of their face, that can be related to this here, stroke. Anaphylaxis, that is an acute, often dire situation where someone is having an allergic reaction to something, their throat starts squeezing, they can't breathe. They have to have Benadryl on the scene or they could pass away. Myocardial infarction. So these things have to do with the heart. There are several things here to do with the heart. And then let's not look past this little adverse event right here, DEATH. Yeah, this is listed right on FDA.gov as a possible adverse event outcome to this. So this is not me. This is not my opinion. This is what the people who are supposed to be tasked to look out for these things are told to look out for. There are things pertaining to pregnancy and birth, and we just showed you that they didn't test those. What else do we have here? All kinds of really not good, not small things. Now that we've touched on that, I would like to go into the VAERS, the VAERS reporting system. To learn more info on exactly what the VAERS system or VAX Adverse Events Reporting System is and how you too can gain access to this publicly available government system, see step-by-step directions at the end of this video. What you are now about to hear are some of only 8,000 adverse events that have already been directly uploaded into the VAERS system since late December. So only about 1 month of reporting on VAERS, which is again controlled by the FDA and CDC. You're now about to hear specific descriptions of what happened to a variety of people directly after they took the CV jab. Let's just take a look at some of these things. I don't expect that you guys can read these very well, but I will read some of them for you. 51-year-old male with, this looks like he has COPD. So that's not a good condition, right? This is someone who would be vulnerable to CoV-19. It says he had severe pulmonary fibrosis and he became increasingly hypoxic around 1800 hours. He was transported to hospital for acute hypoxia and respiratory failure. 5 days later, he was changed to comfort care and died. Approximately 10:30 p.m. on 114, resident. Now, if this says resident, a lot of times that means a nursing home person, right? Resident was noted to have a rash on her face, hands, arms, and chest. It goes into some of her vitals. On 115, that's the next day, resident congestion and coughing, at which point the doctor gave permission for her to go to the hospital. At 4:19 a.m., the ER called to say that she passed away. So that looks like it was about 1 day after. This person, it says here, passed away 3 days after receiving the jab. Cause pneumonia. This person, I'm going to scroll up here. 83-year-old female resident who died after receiving the Pfizer jab on 1/14/21. The patient reportedly got up in the middle of the night feeling, quote, blah, restless and nausea. Then at 4 a.m., the patient was asked to go back to bed. At 6 a.m., the patient was found unresponsive, no pulse, no heartbeat. Go back to bed. Oh. Here's one 71-year-old female resident who passed away after receiving the Pfizer jab on 1/14/21. At 11:30 a.m., patient showed no signs of distress. At 11:50, the nurse went to perform a CV test, an assessment, and found the patient unresponsive in the bathroom floor. CPR administered on the bathroom floor. My gosh. Here are 4 in a row. January 11th, vomiting, severe malaise. Next day, resident expired. Here's another one. Resident found unresponsive and without pulse at 5:45 a.m. Here's another one. Patient passed away. A friend called to let us know. Here's another one. Patient died on January 21st. Oh, wow. So that was only 7 days ago. Here's one. He died 9 hours after the jab. Here's one pertaining to the heart issues. Now, remember, I read that earlier that was what the FD and A mentioned to look out for. Cardiac arrest within 1 hour. Patient had the second jab at approximately 2 p.m. on Tuesday, January 12th. He works at the extended care. Now, this is someone who just works there. Look at that. Reads here, he was in good health that morning with no complaints. He waited 10 to 15 minutes at the jab admin site, then told them he felt fine and was ready to get back to work. He then was found unresponsive at 3 p.m. within an hour of the second jab. Wow. 2 more expired. One says cardiac arrest. What else do we have here? Here's one that says passed away 2 days after the jab. So you may be thinking, with all these reports of people seeming to be passing away so quickly, why wouldn't workers within nursing homes, where many in the same facility received the shots at once, be reporting what they saw? Well, even though doing so is risking his own employment in a time when jobs are scarce, this CNA said his conscience wouldn't allow him to stay silent on the topic any longer. See the link to the entire testimony in description box below.
Now, I'm letting you know, friends, as I'm speaking to you right now, I have nothing to gain, everything to lose. I've been in the health industry, in the health field for over 10 years. I am a certified nursing assistant. That is what I do. And the function of my work is to save the lives of those that are under my care. I'm not going to tell you where I work, but the place that I work is a nursing home. As a CNA who works with the residents, who touch them, who talks to, who pray with them, who cares for them, okay? Like, I'm coming from this angle. I know my patients. I know when they are happy. I know when they are sad. I know when they are frustrated. We know the people that we care for. So, 2 weeks after they receive the vaccine, or 3 weeks later, I am seeing this pattern of not just side effects, to the point where we had people who were once walking who are no longer walking. People who were once talking who could no longer talk. People who were once able to think could no longer think properly. Delirium, confused. In 2020, the whole entire year, we did not have a single death. Did you hear what I said? A single death from any of our residents who had COVID-19. As a matter of fact, we only had about 5 people. How many I said? 5 people at the most who was infected with COVID-19. 0 death for the entire year of 2020. I thank God for it, friends. Just about 5 cases at the most. All of them survived. December 2020, right around the time of the 22nd, the vaccine was administered to our patients. Get this, friends. We are in January 18, 2021, they have had such a negative reaction to the vaccine. It's supposed to be a stimulus, right? A stimulus that's supposed to help your immune system to fight against the virus if you were to confront it. I understand that. I'm not anti-vaccine. I understand the purpose of it. That's not the point of what I'm trying to say. But this is what I'm saying, friends. Our residents are dying. Our residents are dying after they have taken the vaccine. And what troubles me, this is not even being spoken about. What bothers my heart is that it's almost like, don't talk about this. Just keep quiet. This. Now, when you ask those in authority, those in a position that could give you answers, you know what their answers are? We had a super spreader. A super spreader? How are you going to tell me you go to the year of 2020, not a single person passed away? We are in 2021. We are in the middle of the month. Where I work right now, over 14 patients have already died. They are dropping like flies. Here is another thing. There were some patients who did not, listen to me very carefully, who actually refused the vaccine. Guess what? None of them got sick. Majority, friends, I'm telling you, over 60 or 70%, majority of those who actually took the vaccine are sick. Sick to the point of death. This video is going to get me in trouble. I already know that, and I could care less. Because at the end of the day, friends, the life of these innocent residents, the life of these family members, these mothers and fathers, these grandparents are more important than a paycheck.
Yep, that is just one voice from a person whose conscience will not allow them to keep silent any longer. And I encourage any of you who have seen this firsthand to come out and do the same thing. Bad things happen when good people do nothing. And that is what is happening. We know that big tech is covering this up. We know that pharma has no reason to allow this to be admitted. However, there's a lot of us, a whole lot more of us than there are of them. So contact me, DanaAshlie@yahoo.com, if you want to get your story out. I will compile as many of you that want to come forward. This has to be told. People are going and they're getting this. Why? Because they want their life to be normal again. It's heartbreaking. This person on hospice, a lot of these people are elderly. Absolutely. And we'll look at what the news reports say about these in just a second. But not expected to pass this soon. Same day, passed away. This one says, on day due for the second dose, patient found unresponsive at work. Oh, another worker. Patient's pupils were fixed and dilated. They initiated, they went to a lot of, this is a person who works in a hospital. This is not a nursing home here. These people went all out to try to save this person. It says, on day for second dose, patients found unresponsive at work in hospital. They initiated 55 minutes, ACLS, it looks like a resuscitation measure, multiple rounds of bicarb, which is what you do for heart, right? Magnesium, epinephrine. Patient was intubated, so they put him on a ventilator and everything. Multiple shocks, probably someone that everyone knew and they tried. I'm speculating there, but this is someone who tried to be resuscitated at the very hospital that gave them this thing. So this one says, now look, this one's a little different. Look at this. Initial pain in back of head and extreme headache, some vomiting. At emergency, went into coma and was intubated. Hole drilled in skull to relieve the pressure. MRI taken, lots of bleeding in brain. Aneurysm led to death approximately 14 hours after. Wow. Resident received first dose on January 4th. On January 6th, having SOB means shortness of breath, increased weakness. They're giving this person oxygen. They're dizzy. They're weak. Oh, they had a fall. So it causes dizziness. They admit that. And so this older person fell down. They're dizzy. Rapid test performed. So they're in the middle of this and they're giving them a CV test. Jeez. Performed with negative results. Lethargic, fever, transferred to ER. Returned, okay, so they came back on the 9th, but then died on the 11th. So 7 days from the first dose, no longer with us. There's so many, you guys. Here's a younger person, 54 years old. Oh, but this person has cirrhosis from alcohol. Okay, so this person has a compromised liver from drinking. Says here he called the EMS because he was having constant diffuse abdominal pain that radiated into his chest, okay, into the heart area. On scene, the patient had witnessed arrest with EMS starting CPR. He was given 3 rounds of epi, no resuscitation. He had no shockable rhythm. The patient's wife had noted he received the shot the day before. Again, the heart issue. This one, cardiac arrest within 20 minutes of this thing. 20 minutes. But none of these are proof of causation, just so you know. Patient was found pulseless and breathless 20 minutes following the jab. So I decided to try and make this easier for you guys to read these descriptions as well. It was too small within the StreamYard viewer. So I have cut and pasted this into a Word document so that I can zoom in on it. So you can see the numbers on the left that start with 9. Those are the VAERS numbers in case you wanted to, look them up. A lot of the descriptions are very brief and don't give a lot of context. You can see here, DEATH, received first dose on the 8th, pronounced passed away on the 9th, resident expired, difficulty breathing, then passed away. Here's one, the patient was found, passed away at home about 24 hours after. This is from someone whose mother passed away. My mother was given Pfizer jab on Thursday, and she passed 3 days later, yesterday on Sunday. Patient received the first of Moderna and was found deceased in her home the next day. Here's another death by massive heart attack. And you guys remember on that, not to beat a dead horse here, but look, this word here, that's a heart attack. It's a fancy word for a heart attack. I won't try to say it. Here's another one with a little more story. Jab received at 9 a.m. at her place of work, medical center, where she was employed as a housekeeper. Okay, so this is a housekeeper that works in the ER. About 1 hour after receiving the shot, she experienced hot flash, nausea, and feeling like she was going to pass out after she bent down. Later, at about 3 p.m., she appeared tired and lethargic, and then after a short time at 4 p.m., upon arrival to a friend, she complained of feeling hot and having difficulty breathing. She then collapsed. When the medics arrived, she was breathing slowly and went into cardiac arrest and was unable to be revived. Wow. This is a housekeeper, fully functioning person. Ugh. Well, here's a personal testimony. They obviously lived. I had received my first jab for CV on the 22nd of December. You know what I just thought of? This all started during the Saturnalia celebration. Look at that. The week of Saturnalia, these bloody Satanists. Okay, now I'm getting opinionated. Ugh. Okay, that's another point. Another time. December 22nd, I had a heart attack on the 27th. 5 days later, heart attack. Here's one. Headache after a dose was given at 10 a.m. Passed away at 7:30 p.m. same night. Here's a Moderna. Resident first dose on January 4th. Resident found unresponsive. Next day. Resident Moderna. Saturnalia, 5 p.m. Christmas, 2 days later, had a CVA stroke and died on January 1st. Guys, there's just so many, as you can see. I tried to put in some that were along the same lines of patterns to kind of point those out. My goodness. So fast. 8 hours later. 20 minutes after. No signs of anaphylaxis, so this wasn't even an allergic reaction. And still, 20 minutes later, gone.
How do you tell me as a CNA I just care for a patient, left the room, come back, dead?
January 12th, resident woke up not able to stand in the easy stand. Easy lift was needed. In addition, he needed assistance with eating. Now, this goes back to what the testimonial of that nurse assistant said.
We had people who were once walking who are no longer walking. People who were once talking who could no longer talk.
Around 3 p.m., the resident became flaccid on left side of his face and speech became mumbled. This is indication of stroke. Hand grasp was equal at that time. VS were stable, but blood pressure was elevated compared to previous recordings. Family did not want him sent to the hospital and asked for comfort cares. Well, that means he's gone. That's morphine, right? So there were a couple I found around pregnancy. Now, you know that they did not test for pregnancy. They didn't let anyone have it that supposedly was pregnant. But check this out. I found someone who took it. Patient was 18 weeks pregnant at the time of the vaccine, second pregnancy. She was a physician, someone who believes in the system, no doubt. Pregnancy was entirely normal up to that time. On the 18th, she began to have heavy bleeding and subsequently delivered at 18 weeks. Baby was stillborn. Lethal event for the fetus. The patient did well. Are you kidding me? You guys are sick. Sorry, that was an opinion. Did well. Oh, here, check this one out. This one's amazing. No one dies, so that's good. I am currently breastfeeding my 5-month-old son. I received my first jab on 12/28 and directly breastfed within 4 hours of receiving the shot. 2 days later, after the shot, my son was at daycare and had 2 large diarrhea blowouts and 2 large emesis. That means forceful vomiting. This is probably a medical person. Followed by a 1-minute episode where he went limp with his entire body cyanosis. That is a bluish color of the skin, by the way. I looked it up. In and out of consciousness. He also had a rash, both flat and raised lesions on the skin on his torso. EMS was called, observed in ED for a few hours and recovered. Wow, okay. I wonder if that person's going to be taking another shot while she's breastfeeding. Gotta wonder. Probably not, considering she's the one that called it in. Now, here are some people that actually called in who are in the medical field themselves. Patient admitted from 12/27 at cardiology team who strongly felt that they were having a reaction to the Miser shot. He was a senior cardiologist. Interesting. 58-year-old male patient received first dose. They say the batch number, Miser. He worked as a pulmonary critical care physician. He reported fever, Malaysia, that's muscle soreness, fatigue, December 16th. Next day, took off from work. Next day, 18th, came to work. Ongoing severe fatigue, hand weakness. The staff saw him looking at his hands. He collapsed with left-sided hemiparesis, stroke. Yeah. Talks about his low platelets, 114. Guys, this is so low. I think that they go into the many thousands, tens of thousands, but I have to look that up. His medical history included hypertension. He was transported to the ER and showed a hemorrhage. Oh, there you go. Another hemorrhage. He was 22 days in the hospital. Life-threatening situation. 58-year-old guy, cardiologist. Bet he won't be taking another shot. Acute liver injury requiring transplant and acute kidney injury. Wow, after the jab. Okay, here are 3 people that have come down with, I'm not pronouncing this right, and I'm sorry. Guillain-Barré. This is a rapid onset muscle weakness caused by deterioration of parts of the nerves and nervous system. Remember the FDA listing this one as the first one they should be looking for? Hello, FDA, you have some cases in here to check out. Anyway, GB typically starts out with muscle weakness, pain, beginning in the feet and hands, and spreading the rest of the body. It can be life-threatening because all of the nerves within the muscles can begin to deteriorate, including the breathing muscles. So, people are requiring ventilation to breathe, as well as the heart being a muscle. Anyway, can I have an opinion here? Here's my opinion. Alert, alert, Dana's opinion incoming. Autoimmune conditions often caused by heavy metals, like aluminum found in SHOTS, like mercury found in your dental fillings. These are exacerbated by microwaves. Ever put aluminum in a microwave? And these microwave frequencies, they're absolutely everywhere. Okay, opinion ended. Now, the other pattern that I saw within these a lot was the anaphylaxis. It was people sitting down and getting the shot and knowing right away something was very bad. 38-year-old female who is a healthcare worker and received first jab. Immediately after receiving it, patient was lightheaded, flushing, hives, wheezing, and throat swelling. Treated in emergency department with epinephrine, gradually improved and was able to be sent home with an EpiPen. Well, look at that. Now you have an EpiPen in your life. You're 38 years old. The next day, patient again developed shortness of breath and her husband administered the EpiPen. EMS arrived and gave her another dose of that, as well as, I think this is Benadryl. On arrival to the emergency department, the patient was altered, diaphoretic, I can't pronounce this stuff, you guys. Patient was given multiple doses of the epinephrine and started on an epinephrine drip. Stridor continued and was unresponsive to the albuterol. Patient was then intubated and placed on mechanical ventilation. Guys, this is a 38-year-old woman. Other treatments included all these bloody meds, admitted to ICU, intubated, extubated the next day. Okay, she survived. Good grief, man. Facing death, literally. Approximately 4 p.m. January 11th, I began to have hard chills and fever of 104.9. I was taken to ICU. Blood pressure dangerously low. I was diagnosed with sepsis. Okay, so I found a decent number of people who got sepsis and, what's it called? Appendicitis. This person had slow progression of kidney disease, but since the jab had unexpected acute kidney failure. That's very deadly. After jab, the veteran was found by family slumped over and unresponsive at the breakfast table. Awful. Low platelets. Now, this is the thing that doctor that you saw in the news died from, that they admitted. January 14th, I noticed general petechiae. I think I said that wrong. Raised rash all over the body. I went to seek medical care and was found to have a platelet count of 2. That is, you don't live with that for long. I was hospitalized for idiopathic thrombocytopenic. I can't pronounce that, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's right here. It's right there. Come on, FDA, wake up. Another person with extremely low platelet count. So, again, the clots is a biggie. Clots, here's another clot. It's kind of rough reading so many of these. I'm sure not just for me, for you guys too. So I'll wrap this up. But somebody's got to tell you the other side of this. We got to protect our friends and family and question everything. Wow, another one. Little bit of a reaction, lightheaded after 5 minutes from the jab. Observed for 30 minutes. Patient was found unresponsive the same day. Guys, these just go on and on. I just wanted to really dig in here and give you a peek of, wow, lots of sudden hearing loss. Look at all this. Hearing loss, hearing loss, hearing loss. I never saw that anywhere before. And another thing that there's swarms of are people that get the jab and then they go and get the TEST, and what do you know? They have COVID. Back to what the media is doing with this kind of information, there have been some people with enough courage to go on to the social media and things like that, and they are posting pictures of what is happening to them in this situation. This woman here, basically, I don't know if you guys saw this, it went pretty viral. It shows her walking and shaking, and she basically is convulsing.
Hey everybody, first I want to introduce myself, and my name is Sean Skelton, and I'm very real, and unfortunately this is also very real. I didn't know what else to do other than to just come on live and show everybody what my body is going through at all wakening hours of my day. Let's just say I don't know what's happening to my body, okay? It's a good question to me as it is for you, but I know that on Monday I was a very functioning person, zero medical issues. I work every day. I've been a CNA for 25 years, and I love my patients. I love my job. I got the vaccine, the Moderna, on January the 4th. On Tuesday, I had mild flu-like symptoms. I went to work. By Thursday morning, I was in full body convulsions.
Bring the EKG machine to room 11. EKG machine to room 11.
When I get upset, they get a lot worse. But for the most part, this is my typical day. This is right now. And I know I have a lot of support. But a lot of you people on Facebook are really mean. I didn't ask for this. And how do you just wake up one day and your whole world is wrong and it's upside down and no one helps you is beyond me. I can't make sense of it. And thank you for your prayers. And there's nothing that would convince me that this is not from the Moderna vaccine.
But these are the two videos. And what does this news article do? While both women say in the videos they blame the jabs for their conditions, experts have not verified that is the cause. Additionally, with more than 51 million doses of the jab having been administered, the symptoms described have not been among the possible side effects. Oh, really? Well, that's not exactly what the FDA said. You know, the FDA Safety Surveillance Group, convulsions, right? It's listed right here. The media lies for a living. That is what they do. The media lies for a living. It should be on a t-shirt. Yes. So even though some people have been brave enough to come out and say what has happened to them, it is not being properly addressed. And that is why I wanted to go ahead and show you guys from the horse's mouth right here through the government's own surveillance system what people are reporting. Another thing that you're seeing on the media. Now, we just went into a lot of residents who have expired, yes, after seeing the SHOT. But this article is actually reporting on something that happened in Norway, where they actually are suspecting the jab for all of this sudden amount of DEATH. The Norwegian Medicines Agency and the National Institute of Public Health has reported 23 people passing away that it believes are associated with this. They all occurred in elderly people who were frail. Now, that's not an article you're going to see so much in the United States. In the United States, they look a little more like this. This one is actually in Dublin. I have one here from the United States as well. Let's take a look at this. Cv19 Outbreak. Look what they call it. They call it an outbreak. This is taking out 24 people at this nursing home. Began 2 weeks ago, has infected 137 residents. 24 have passed away. Okay, so when you take a look at the article, you can see it says right here, the same thing as a gentleman who was a CNA said. There had been no nursing home CVDEATH until December 29th, okay? Till December 29th. But then it says at the very end of the article, you have to dig deep here, and a lot of times they don't even admit it. Right here, nursing home began giving the shot on December 22nd. So they start giving the shot December 22nd. The first people start passing away on the 29th. And they're going to call it an outbreak, just like the guy said. They're going to call it a super spreader. Couldn't possibly have anything to do with the fact that they all got the shot just days before. Could it? Insanity. This is insanity. This is evil. Okay, sorry. That was my opinion. Yes, so what the journalist should be doing, which is asking the tough questions, what is happening to these people? Instead, we get all these bought and paid for propaganda spinning look at this. Oh, we got to fact check this. Instead of coming out and admitting, wow, this is kind of odd, don't you think? Instead, you see people that are saying, oh, we got to fact check this. The claim that they're trying to debunk here, after it had administered jabs, a nursing home had dozens of people pass away in infections. Well, after what I just read to you through the VAERS website, we saw the same thing, did we not? Ron Paul, bless his heart, another one of the people who is being silenced, basically came out and had an article that said a nursing home had 0 CV DEATH, then it jabs residents and the passing away begins. So this article is trying to debunk that by saying, oh, look, these people have 100,000 views, as if that's so terrible. To have a different perspective, have views. Imagine that. So they're going to fact check this by coming out and saying, oh, well, the outbreak began on December 21st, but vaccinations began on December 22nd. The article conveniently leaves out the fact that the DEATH started 7 days after the jab. This does nothing to debunk anything. Couldn't possibly be the jabs. Nope. Nope, it's not causation, people. My gosh, guys, this feels a little overwhelming with so much of it, right? And for those of you who believe in scripture and who want to follow the government at all costs because you believe that God put all leaders into place, well, there are plenty of examples in the word of people who believe having to go against what the government says. And I found something pretty amazing in Revelation 18 that points to something really interesting regarding this being in scripture, this very thing. And that is in Revelation 18:23, it says, now this is pertaining to the judgment that comes to America, which I interpret as being America, the whore that rides the beast that will be taken out. And why she is judged, it goes into many details explaining why. But one of them, it says this, the light of a lamp will never shine in you again. The voice of a bridegroom and bride will never be heard in you again. This is after the judgment, he's saying. But why? It says, your merchants were the world's important people. Like Gates. Let me read a different version. It says, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Okay, but what does sorceries mean? Well, that's the really interesting part. When you go to the Strong's Concordance, where you find out where this word was translated into sorceries from, you see here something very interesting. Sorcery. Not only is it what most people think of, the magic, sorcery, enchantment, it says, from pharmakeus, medication, right? Pharmakia. Interesting. So these merchants, these great men of the world, by their sorceries, were all nations deceived. Medication, where we get the name pharmacy, pharmaceuticals. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, this is heavy and it's a lot. And I just wanted to share it with you because I'm still hearing people that are just so eager to get their lives back. They're willing and ready to run out and get this thing. But we need to make balanced decisions, right? We need to know the other side of the story that's not being shared with us through any kind of mainstream media. And at this point, social media, because, well, it's all being put through the fact checkers, right? Okay, I think that just about wraps it up. I hope that this new format is something you guys can tolerate. I know it's not as perfect as my other videos with the script and everything, but I'm trying to get a lot more videos out, and this is how I plan to do it. I have a better camera thanks to those of you who have supported me. I've been able to get that, which is amazing. That's it for now. I hope to see you guys very soon. Check out the description box for links, and yeah, I think that's all for now. Love you guys. God bless you. I'll talk to you soon. For those who do not know what the JAB Adverse Events Report Center is, VAERS is, I will show you here according to the FDNA's own website, fda.gov. The Jab Adverse Event Reporting System, or VAERS, is a national jab safety surveillance program co-sponsored by the FDA and the CDC. The purpose of it is to detect possible signals of adverse events associated with these jabs. VAERS collects and analyzes information from reports of adverse events, possible side effects that occur after the administration of these jabs. And since the journalists of the world aren't telling you guys about this, that's what we'll be doing here today. And I'm going to show you guys how to get into it. And keep in mind that less than 1% of adverse events are actually reported within the system. And that is due to what I just told you. Very few people actually know about it. There are even doctors that don't know about it. They're not trained to look at these adverse events and connect them to the jab itself. In this study that was done in 2011, it was done by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare Incorporated. It was done for the Department of Health and Human Services. It stated that fewer than 1% of these adverse events are reported to the government. So when you're looking at the sheer numbers of these adverse events, keep in mind, you should add 2 zeros to the end of it to get a better idea of how many things are actually happening. That is if this study is true. Let me show you guys how to get into this. Look in the description box to get the link to this. This is the page that you will go to. Okay. Let me zoom in here so you guys can see it better. On this page, vaers.hhs.gov. Okay, so go ahead and click I understand the disclaimer. Now that disclaimer would be the events that I'm about to read to you do not prove causation. They really want you to know that. Once you go here and you click that, I do the online search rather than downloading the database because I'm not a big database person, unfortunately. All right, so once you're in the system here, you're going to do data search and you're going to go, I agree. Now, you need to put VAERS ID on here, okay? Now, I am only interested today because I'm trying to keep this simple. I'm going to look for the description. So each of these people, they write out what happened to them. I'm going to click the adverse event description here, and then we're going to scroll down. And then we're going to go into the jab that we're looking for. We're going to do a search and we're going to put in, there it is, COV. I'm sure you can figure out the rest, ID, and then search. Now with the Mac, I just do command key and select all these. With the PC, you probably have to do it your way. Sorry, I don't know what that is. And then push send. Waiting for the results. So take a look at this. Let's jump in here. I see here 7,804 total results. Now, these can be everything from mild all the way to worse ones that we'll get into in a second. But I just want to show you the sheer number. Now, remember, if 1% is right, you need to add 2 zeros to this number. That would mean 780,000, right? I'm going to go ahead and go to the bottom because it seems like a few of the more severe ones are at the bottom in the times that I've done this. Let's just take a look at some of these things. I don't expect that you guys can read these very well, but I will read some of them for you. I don't know medical acronyms, so I'll try my best. 51-year-old male with, this looks like he has COPD, so that's not.
When my